Hey everybody, this is David at Barnyard Bees. This video right here is long overdue. A lot of issues. I couldn't get to it right away, but I should have had this a couple weeks ago, but I'm still in plenty enough time to get it out to people. What we're going to talk about today is a couple of things. Mite treatment is one of them, and what you need to do to keep your bees in check and mite-free, virus-free. Remember, don't always say, well, I don't see mites on my bees, because if you see mites on your bees, you're probably already in the advanced stages of infestation and diseases. Now, mites, not only are they a parasite, but they also carry a lot of diseases that will just make your bees sick. Deformed wing virus, if you ever seen it, where the bees' wings are battered up, like chewed, like they didn't form right, is caused by mites. It's a disease spread by mites. So when you think of mites, don't just think a parasite that's sucking your bees dry. Worse than that is the viruses and infections and diseases that they spread. That's the worst part about the mites. So always remember that. So throughout the year, what I always recommend is, if you choose to use strips, that's fine. There's different varieties of strips that you can use, but we like to use oxalic acid, and to me it's the most effective way of killing mites. Now remember, and before people start commenting about it, remember I'm saying this in the video to cover this, is about only exposed mites are killed. Mites inside the cells are safe from oxalic acid until they hatch, and then you treat them again. That's why it's important to do when you want to kill off the mites going into winter. You got to do a 3-week cycle to completely kill the mites. First week, it'll kill all the exposed mites and on the bees. Second week, there will be more hatch, and you're killing those. In the third week, you're completely destroying the mite population going into winter. Now, the perfect scenario is just like fleas and ticks and many other bugs. Once you get a good frost on, they're pretty much done for the year. So if you can back out 3 weeks from there and start your treatment, let's say you have a hard frost last week in October. Well, then the first week in October would be the perfect time to do your treatments, leading up until the time where the freeze kills all the mites, and so no more mites are coming in. Your mite count by then should be very, very low. Now, I wish I'd brought one. We got those Varroa Mite checkers. That has the alcohol wash. You can use those to check your mites before and after. A lot of people do, and they're very popular. I wish I'd brought one. We got them at the store, barnyardbees.com, if you need any. If you don't, or if you want to get them somewhere else, that's fine. I'm just putting out the information for you. And just like any of these tools here, we sell all these at the store. But if you get them elsewhere, that's fine. I don't care. We're just giving you an option. Sometimes people get offended because we sell the products in the store, but you got to remember too that we're eventually trying to make a living at this. So, giving out the free information that we have given for years, and we're just offering you the stuff. And if you get it elsewhere, I'm not offended whatsoever. All I'm telling you is you need to get it. Whether you get it from us or get it from somewhere else, just get it. So there's different methods of using oxalic acid. Now, the top of the line is, of course, the Provap 110. It's because it's completely efficient. It had a little bit of residue left in there, apparently. I know you're not going to be able to read it, but it sets it at the perfect temperature that it's supposed to be before converting it over to formic acid. So with these others, they're not quite as accurate, but they do work. And of course they're a lot cheaper. The Provap, we have these, and we're very competitive on our prices with these. $4.89 for a Provap, and that's a very good price on those. You can also, if you don't want to go with that much expense and you just want to go with the wand that runs off of a 12-volt battery, these here, they're self-explanatory. All you do, here's your oxalic acid right here. You take a scoop of it, you drop it in, stick this in the hive halfway, and plug it up to your battery. These take about 2 or 3 minutes to completely cycle. Once you start seeing this steam, the vapor rise, you unhook it from the battery, give it time to cool down. I didn't pick my mask up, my respirator. Absolutely get you a respirator. Do not run these without a respirator. The fumes are dangerous, but as long as you got a good respirator, I buy mine at any lumber store, and I get their most expensive one that covers, it'll have a check on there for all chemicals and such, and I get the most expensive one. And when I have it on, I've never detected any oxalic acid vapors while breathing, because it will hit you, and you will tell that you got a shot of it. You do not want that. So now these vaporizers, they come in, our cheapest one we got for $89.99. If you can see that price there or not. And it's a lot more chintzy than the others. The wires aren't quite heavy duty. They will work. They're not top of the line by no means. And then this one here is a very good quality one. It's for $119. You're better off to spend a little bit more for the better ones. You can look at the wire going to it is much more stronger, durable. You can tell it's just a better vaporizer. And then the best that we got as far as this type that hooks up to 12-volt battery is the one called the Varroa, and it runs $169. So that's kind of your options right there. But like I said, folks, if you find it somewhere else or want to borrow it from somebody, hey, that'll work. We're just giving you the option. If you need it, we got it. That's all we're saying. And now, what I recommend for people that has 20 hives or more is get the Provap, because if you got that much investment in your hives anyway, 20 hives, then $4.89 is not much more, considering that it's fast and efficient and precise to the T. Top of the line. You can't beat the Provap. It's absolute top of the line. They do have commercial grade vaporizers that look like a big shotgun that run off a compressor, and but you're getting into the thousands of dollars with those. But for the small commercial beekeeper or the hobbyist that has 20 or more hives, right here is what you need. I recommend if you're going to have at least 20 hives, get you one of these things right here. You won't be disappointed. And I'll demonstrate in a second how they work. Like I said, these right here, you can do a hive about as fast as you can load this up and put it on and flip it over. It's that quick. That's how fast it vaporizes. These take about 5 minutes per cycle, and you're supposed to let them cool down between each cycle. So you can do the math. You can see how long it would take to do those. So I touched on this before, but when it comes to mites, it's extremely important, and a lot of people fail to go back in our archive and pull out videos from way back. Treating for mites is extremely important. Now look, folks, I know I'm going to get into it with some of the more naturalist beekeepers, and I'll touch on that for just a second. But if people call and argue it, I'm really not going to argue back, because I've been down that road before, and people that are convinced that to do all natural, hey, have at it. But the thing is, when it comes to mites, there's very few hives that are naturally immune to mites. They got the, what's it called, the Purdue, I think it's called the Purdue mite cure and such, where they actually will attack the mites And if you got something like that, hey, that's wonderful. But when it comes to mites, like I said, now I'm not going to argue with people, because I know people are fixed on what they believe. You believe what you believe. But you can ask a lot of people that's been beekeeping for a long time. There is a handful, there really is, that have bees that can resist the mite. But it's not common. It's not common in going back to catching swarms and cutouts. What a lot of people don't realize, they caught a swarm, they think they caught a wild swarm. 9 times out of 10, you didn't. You either caught a swarm off of somebody's hives like ours, or it was a swarm, it was from a colony at least a couple generations back. And a couple generations is nowhere near enough to make bees mite resistant. Now, you might possibly have, and I've heard of these stories too, and it's true that some colonies been in, say, an old house and they've been there for 20 years. Well, they probably did build up a resistance to it, but that's rare. It's really rare. So if you think that you can buy 20 packages and then just not treat, or 20 Nucs and then just not treat, you're going to be set up for a really big disappointment, and your wallet's going to pay the price of it. So, but I'm just talking from experience, and you can ask many of them. I know a lot of commercial beekeepers, and at the level that they're doing it, if they stop treating, their bees would die. And then I know what people will say, yeah, but they're so used to treatment, they have to have treatment. Then it goes back to the bees that you'll find in a house that's been there for 10, 20 years. They're rare. It's not a common thing to find bees like that. So I'm just warning you up front. You do what you want to do. But I know how the bees are, and I know how people treat. I've heard so many people come in the store and starting off with natural beekeeping, and they was really put down. They was really let down, and they said, we know better now, we won't do it now. Okay, but that's all I'm going to talk about that. I'm just telling you what we do, and if people write, I'm just going to delete the comments. I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. So that's that. So what I'll do, I'm going to demonstrate how we do this right here, just the one here. I do apologize. I had a tripod, I couldn't find it. I don't know what become of it. I got one right here back behind me that's broken. I'm gonna try to set it up so I can demonstrate. Okay, I got it set up on this old tripod here. Yeah, I think it'll hold. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know when they crash. I've done that a lot of times before as well. What you do with this is a Provap right here, and you got these. Now keep in mind, the wind's blowing that way. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes only. I only do it once. I do not have my respirator, but I will absolutely make sure that it's blowing that way. So please don't ever try this. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes only, just to show you how this stuff comes out. What you do when you start these, you start with it facing down like that, and you bump it onto it like that, just enough to hold it, and I'll make sure the wind's blowing that direction, and then I'm going to set it down. Once it's done, I'm not going to really hold it that long. Now as soon as you flip it over, it's going to shoot out here very fast, and it's very efficient and very quick. There it goes. I'm staying out of wind is blowing that direction. You can see it. I'm not getting any whiff of it. I'm only going to do this one time. Okay. I'm going to set it down, set it over there, and that's all I'm going to demonstrate on that. That's how quick that is. Now, what some people do is they'll drill a tiny hole to accommodate that nozzle in the back of the hive. And then they'll take a dowel rod and push in there to plug it up when they're not using it. Or you can do it right through the entrance. I do right through the entrance. Some people will put a towel over and just let the nozzle go in, but it puts so much vapor in there, so much more than these do, I guess because it's so quick and efficient, it puts plenty in there. Now I do 1 scoop for a 5-frame nuc, and that's plenty. Now if you're doing a big hive, like a double deep 10 or something like that, then you can use like 1.5 scoops or 2 scoops is plenty. It'll put plenty enough vapor in there. So that's how you do that. And like I said, these are the same way. You just load them up right here, hook them up to your car battery, and let it go. Now this thing here, of course, is 110. It runs off of 110. The drawback to this is you do have to have 110 power to run them. They do not run off of a car battery. You can see where I got it plugged in right there to my 110 outlet. So that's kind of about it right there. I want to touch on that a little bit today, and long overdue for this video. So, and then another thing I want to talk about now, as we're getting close to winter, now we do have a little bit of time back. You've heard me talk about these before. This is the hive top feeder that we use, called the Rapid feeder, and they're made out of plastic. The good thing about these are very versatile. In the summertime, springtime, you fill them up with liquid here, and I've talked about these before, but people, it's not ever heard of them. These are our #1 seller in the store. We sell these more than anything. These, and of course our beetle barns. We sell a ton of beetle barns. That's when people order supplies, they almost always have these included in with it. So, but the thing with this is, what you do, you can feed it wet sugar throughout the spring and summertime. In the wintertime, what you do, you take this cap off, and then you'll put dry sugar in here. You put dry sugar right here, put your lid on. Now they got a dry sugar that acts as a sugar cake, or whatever you call the candy cake, candy board. There we go, candy board. What happens, that sugar, we load these up in our zone 7, North Georgia, December 1st. We make sure all liquids gone December 1st. And usually about, let's step back a little bit so people will understand this. Starting about October, we'll start feeding 2-to-1 sugar water. Right now we're feeding 1-to-1. 1-to-1 encourages production of wax, and the queen will encourage her to lay more eggs. A 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part sugar, 1 part water. Now we start about October feeding a 2-to-1. Now we'll feed that 2-to-1 right up until December, and then December, a 2-to-1 mostly goes into feed the hives for storage. It'll be converted over to honey for the bees to eat on through the winter. But we'll stop feeding it, and we'll put an insurance policy, as I always call it. You put the dry sugar in here. Usually a 4-pound bag will fit in here just perfect. You just pour it equally all the way around it. And about a month, because they won't touch it at first, and they don't need it. When their honey supply starts running low, they will start feeding on that sugar. It's and then that month, from December to January, and usually up until February before they actually start touching it, when they start wanting it. By then it's hard, it's rock hard. All the moisture coming up from the bees comes up, condensates, drips on that sugar water, and forms it into a cake. And that's when they start, that's why it's important to put it back a couple months or a month before they need it, because it needs time to convert over. Now you can make the sugar candy boards. A lot of people do that too, but this is so much easier, and it works just as well. Those bees come up and they feed and they go back down, and it keeps them alive throughout the winter. Now on top of that, and you can see right over there, and there's not a whole lot of bees on it right now, we're a big believer in feeding pollen. It's very crucial. A lot of people may argue that, but I'm telling you what, bees coming out winter, and you can go back and check my video when I was doing a video on feeding pollen throughout the year, through the winter, and how these bees come out of winter strong, because they don't, the queen, her production stays up more than what it would be if you wasn't feeding pollen. But the trick with that is an equal balance. Make sure that you have fed fall sugar water back to your bees, because you got to boost them up with enough sugar water for them to make honey, because they will increase in population by doing this. But they won't starve out as long as you did the steps up into that about feeding them sugar water. So it's a balance. It's just knowing how to do it correctly. And coming out of winter, those bees are monsters, ready to split immediately. Very strong. You can't fail by this. We feed them the Ultra Bee. The Ultra Bee is the best pollen, hands down, guaranteed, that you can get anywhere. There's no artificial pollen. The only pollen better than this pollen is the pollen they get off the flowers. That's the only pollen that's better than this. And you can't buy, well, you can buy it in the store, but you couldn't afford to feed it to your bees. So if you need any of that pollen, it's just another thing that we're telling you that we have at the store, barnyardbees.com. If you need any, we do have it. If you get it elsewhere, hey, that's fine too. But I'm just telling you, get you some and use it. If you have a lot of colonies, what we call Big Blue there is what we use to feed our bees with. We have those at the store. Or you can make your own. Now, Joe May's got a good video demonstration, and I'll try to put it in the link of where he makes the PVC feeders. Joe explains it very well, and go check that out. And if I do somehow forget to put it in the description, just type in Little Bits Honeybee, Joe May, and you'll see the video that he's got on how to make these pollen feeders. You hang them up in trees. They work very well too. So, but if you need these, we got those as well. So just letting people know what the options out there. So that's the feeder. Now, hopefully, everybody's been using the beetle barns. We hope everybody's been using those because they do take out large numbers of beetles in your colonies. And then also, you can use these for an outside trap or a trap inside of your hive top feeder for ants. You can bait these up with ant bait inside, and you know, because a lot of times ants try to get into your feed system, but you could actually bait these up with ant bait, and it's completely safe. The bees won't get anywhere near it, and that works as well too. So there's another thing. Before I forget about it, and I should have started this at the beginning of the video to explain. So when you see it pop up in the caption, you'll know why I was talking about it so early, because I actually forgot to talk about it. We have queens for probably about 2 more weeks. So, and we got queens longer than anybody I know. There may be a handful of people still selling queens, but not many. So if you need to order your queen, we'll for sure have them. We always pull them Monday, always. So we start selling them for that week on Tuesday. Pull them Monday, sell them Tuesday, and then we'll sell them throughout the week. We'll have them 2 more Tuesdays for sure. And then the drone population's starting to drop. And we've been in drought here. We've not had much rain. We had a little bit of rain last night. So all that plays in factors. And when it shuts off quick. That's just how it is with queen rearing. You just never know. But it looks like we're going to have them for at least 2 more weeks. And then after that, I can't guarantee if we'll have any in the first week of October or not. Not sure. We'll just have to assess it then. And if we're only pulling a handful of queens, it's not worth selling them. We'll just probably use our last ones for doing splits and stuff right there at the end of the year. So there's that. And then another thing I want to talk about too, a lot of you heard me talk about my new YouTube channel that I have called Homestead Hacks. It's mostly going to be about farming, canning, anything pertaining to homestead or farming is going to be on that channel. I'm trying to keep beekeeping on Barnyard Bees, farming on Homestead Hacks. Now, please, I ask everybody, if you have any questions, I'm going to put a link, the email address. It's called Homestead Hacks 2019@gmail.com. If you have any questions, please go to that email and put in your questions. I ask, please don't call the store at Barnyard Bees or any Barnyard Bee email or anything like that, because we're so swamped down there with beekeeping questions and such every single day. People asking questions, and we're glad to help people. But we can't add this on top of that because we're already getting swamped down there anyway with questions. So please, if you would, if you have any farming questions, please go to that email. I'll leave the link in the description. But also, please go check out that channel. It's very good. I've advertised it a little bit on the Barnyard Bee YouTube channel and trying to get it promoted, getting it up and growing, because I love farming. And there's a lot of times I like talking about stuff like that in my videos, but some people just don't appreciate it because they're more beekeepers. They don't want to hear about farming and such, and I understand that. That's quite understandable. That's why I decided to go ahead and make that channel, make it separate, where I could spill my knowledge about farming, and because I've done that stuff for years. And like I told somebody, I've been farming since I was 6 or 7 years old when I got my first chickens, and been cooking since I was cooking and canning since I was 12. So I've been doing all that at a very young age, and I really enjoy making the videos. So I'll put the link in the description where you can go check that channel out. And that's about it. That's all I can think of right now. Don't forget, please help spread both our YouTube channels. Share them, click on the little bell, like and subscribe, and thanks for watching Barnyard Bees.